Hello, welcome. How are we? Traders unite. How are we, guys? Hope you're all well. Hope you're having a good trading week. It's the last live stream of the week. I know there's going to be some tears, but we can get through this. And during this live stream, guys, we are going to look at a trade. I'm not in any new trades today, guys, but I did close a trade early, and we're going to understand why I did that. We're also going to take a look at the news, right? There is some news today. So just generally some news, guys, right? This news, while you're all sleeping and snoring and dribbling and thinking of Gal Gadot, all of this news was very bad for the Aussie dollar, right? And we've seen some weakness come into the Aussie dollar. We had this pound news that was all, green, but we, saw a little bit of strength come into the pound. But the news we're interested in, guys, at hour, we have this Philly Fed manufacturing coming out, right? And it's a 3-star rating, so we must be aware of it. So hour, we will play Guess the News game. It's probably the best game on the internet by far. So yeah, we'll play Guess the News game with that by looking at a few US dollar majors. What else are we going to do? Of course, we are going to take as many of your questions as humanly possible in the next 45 minutes or so. So guys, please leave a question. It could be a pair that you're looking at. It could be something you need help with in trading. It could be psychology, money risk management, strategy, whatever you like, guys. And let's be honest, we all need a little bit of help psychology-wise. So psychologically would have been the right word. So yeah, get your questions over to me. And like I say, guys, you can give me general knowledge questions just because I like a quiz. So we're going to do that, guys, right? There was something else I wanted to show you, but we will do that later on. Let's first understand this US dollar, Canadian dollar trade, right? And I basically just got out of break even, right? Not so long ago. And I'm going to explain why. Before I do, can I just say, my mouth is on fire because I had these tandoori nuts, right? Wasn't a... It's going to come a very bad joke. Yeah, and I thought tandoori won't be that hot. They were the hottest nuts I've ever had. This is coming out wrong. I've had to drink some milk. None of that is a euphemism. I'm going to carry on. What was I talking about? US dollar, Canadian dollar, guys, right? So I've just got out of this. Okay, so we was in this trade from yesterday, right? We saw this candle here, this nice big bullish green candle at our river, right? Daily was in an uptrend, ticked lots of boxes. Okay, and the idea was to take it back up to these highs. You can see where my target was. Price came down, flirted down here, but this level ultimately held, right? It held on the H4. So why did I get out of it? Well, if we look at the daily, right, the candle it's still a doji, right? So price could go either way, but it, just the fact that it's turned red, it's a doji. It doesn't matter if that's green or red, really. It's a doji. But the fact it turned red just, bored in my brain. Okay. And the other reason is that we had a H1 breakdown. Okay. So if we go to the H1 now, you can see all these lows did actually break with this candle here, right? And H1 has been trying to build up. Right, it can't, it broke down, and now we're sort of, back at these highs in here. So it'd be really interesting to see what it does here. Now, I am happy with my decision. Okay, and the reasons I explain is why I got out of this trade. Now, if it goes up and hits this level, you know, I will be fine with it. Yeah, I'm happy with my decision. So yeah, let's see what happens to US dollar, Canadian dollar. Also, guys, there was some news coming out, right? As I just explained earlier, we got the Philly Fed manufacturing, and that was, you know, US dollar news coming out. So that was another reason I just closed it in here. So I'm out of that trade. And the only two other trades that I was looking at today really was Aussie dollar, Canadian dollar. Okay. Because if you look at the daily, right, we are in this, well, it was in this uptrend. And now, bang, this candle here broke all of these lows in here, right? We're in a downtrend. And you can see this level, right? Again, you know, these levels are very clear, right? Where does price keep reacting? And price keeps reacting here. We'll see it more clearly on the H4. Now, if we get, right, how long we got? In the next 54 minutes, if we get a nice bearish candle here, right, maybe something like this, I will potentially look to take this back down to these lows. All right, so Aussie dollar, Canadian dollar, I like for sells. And really on the H4, it's become a bit of a range, right? So if we're in a bit of a range, you want to look at the trend before it, right? And this is in a downtrend stroke range. Daily's bearish as well, you know, lots of confluence to take this lower. All right, so we're looking at Aussie dollar, Canadian dollar, and Euro pound was another one I was looking at today, but that's come down already. And this was another one we didn't have much room to move into. But if we look at the day chart, we were here. Price has broken down. We're starting to get lower highs, right? Lower lows. We've got a nice bearish candle. And really, that's where I would take it to. I wouldn't take it any further than that because it's clearly good support, right? I don't want to push my luck. And because of that, on the H4, there was just no room, right? You know, when I woke up, there was this candle here, right? This wasn't exactly filling me with confidence. And then bang, right? Before you know it, the trades happened. I wasn't in it. It didn't give me a pullback. Yeah, and that's really why I'm not in any trades thus far today. So, yeah, that's me, guys. But what are you looking at? Let's say hello to a few people, first of all. So, Neil, how are you, Neil? Welcome to the live stream. Phil, how are you, Phil? Phil loves motorbikes. I know this much. Emperor Nero from the UK, not Italy. How are you? Rodrigo, welcome back. Luigi, how are you, my friend? Frederick, hello, Tom. Very French spelling of your name, Frederick. And who else we got? Pooh Poppy, how the devil have you been? Welcome back. Frederick saying a liquidity sweep on the H1. Okay, and I'm not the only one here. So Pooh Poppy, I've really struggled to find a trade this week. Yeah, we've only had the one trade so far. Nero got clapped by US yen sells. Okay, clapped is negative, I'm guessing there, Nero. Brian from Kenya, I assume that is. It says hello from Ken. I assume your name's not Ken. You're actually from Kenya. Niraj, hi. David, hi. Andre, hi. There you go. Yeah, Brian from Kenya. I've never been to Kenya. I would like to do the, what's it bloody called? The safari there. I think you've got the Big Five, right? You can see the Big Five. So, yeah, I would like to do a safari one day. It's on the bucket list. Right, guys. So yeah, get your questions over to me. We'll take a look at US dollar, Japanese yen very shortly for Nero. But before I do, guys, let me just show you the Discord, right? Because we had a little question today. Now, in our free Discord, which you are more than welcome to join, we had this little question here, right? And question of the day was, would you rather catch 50 pips a day consistently, or would you rather catch 250 pips once a week? Okay, so you have a little think about that question, guys, and you let me know. I keep flittering between the two, which one I would prefer. But yeah, you let me know, guys. Catch 50 pips a day consistently, or catch one trade for 250 pips. And also, guys, just trade ideas. Just come join our Discord for our trade ideas. Right, Dan, there you go. Gold, TP hit. So obviously I've got my trade ideas and trade entries, but look, you've got guys sharing exactly what they're going to do. We've got an Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar sell here. We've got a Swiss franc yen sell. We've got a Euro Aussie dollar sell, New Zealand dollar CAD buys, right? We've got so many great traders in here and trade ideas, guys. So, you know, get involved. Come take a look at the Discord. You can bounce your trade ideas off of other traders, have a chit chat. You know, you can talk about football only if you support Liverpool. Yeah, so come give it a go, guys. Get involved. Right, so Brett is straight here. And he would say, I would like to have 250 a week once a week. I was thinking about this, right? And I guess from a I have to do nothing point, you know, not nothing. From a point of view of I don't have to do a lot. If I just took one trade and it made 250 pips, you've got to be happy, right? But psychologically, I'm not very good at holding a trade for 250 pips. So interestingly, psychologically, 50 pips would be easier for me to psychologically manage, right? I don't know if you guys are the same with that one, right? Also, you don't know when that 250 pip trade's going to happen, right? It might happen on Friday and you have to look at the charts all week anyway, or you end up with a toothache on Friday and you miss it. Whereas if I can get 50 pips out the market every day, I can, you know, go in and out whenever I like. So yeah, let me know what you think, guys. Yeah, and yes, Nero, that will be 50 pips every day consistently, right? You know, if you can do that, wonderful. Right, so Nero, you said here you got clapped by US dollar, Japanese yen. I assume you meant to put slapped rather than clapped. I just looked at the keyboard and see if C is close to S, and it is. So you got slapped by US dollar yen. So Nero, if you don't mind putting it in the live chat, where did you enter? And we can take a look at your trade in real time. And perhaps if you don't mind, we can all take a look at it and look at some of the pros and cons of taking this trade. So yeah, Nero, if you don't mind, please let us know your entry, stop loss, and take profit. And we will look at US dollar yen. David wants to know how close are you getting a deal done with a broker from the States. I won the challenge yesterday. Yes, David, we're fully aware of that. I am currently talking to prop firms that take on US dollar, that take on, so used to saying US dollar, that take on US clients. So bear with me. You know, we need to see what, yeah, we need to negotiate something, right? And that can take a little while. What else have we got here? Okay, Poo Poppy, we'll have less of that. I've enjoyed watching Liverpool getting Liverpooled recently. Yes, we have been shit, to put a too fine a word on it. Frederick, hello, Tom. Please, what is a ground psychological level? Okay, what is a round psychological level? Okay, so this is a good question, right? You know, if we go to the day chart and let's pick a really heavily traded one, right? And you just put in psychological levels, right? And what I mean by psychological levels are levels that end in 00 or 50, right? But if we just put in all the 00s, right? Right, I'll just keep doing, I'll do a couple more, right? It is not a coincidence, right, that the market reacts at these levels. Okay, so these are all the 00 levels, right? You can see the 1-800 level became a bit of resistance in here, right? It's not a coincidence, yeah. And when the market really reacted, it got to this 1.900, right? This level in here, clutching at straws a little bit, but you know, could we say there's some reaction there? Perhaps not, right? Is there reaction at the 1-600 psychological level? Absolutely. Look at that, right? Now, you just have to think why they are levels, right? Because, you know, if you're buying the market, right, and price is going up, you're nicely in profit, and you see 1.1800, just the fact that it's a psychological number will make you think, oh, people, this would be a good time to take profit. Yeah. If you're selling it, the same, right? So price reacts. God, excuse me, it's those tandoori peanuts that I told you about. They are repeating on me. So price generally reacts at these big levels, right? You know, if you go back in time, there's one there, right? So yeah, 1-800. Yeah, but what they're good for is targets, right? So, you know, if I'm selling in here, perhaps this 1-600 would be a nice level to take some profit and then let some profit run, you know, potentially down to here, if not further. But yeah, I'll show you, I'll give you a perfect example. If you look at the dollar index, right, and you go to the weekly chart, look at how big the psychological level of 100 was. Of course, it doesn't get any bigger psychologically, right? And this 100 level, price just reacted at this psychological level over and over again, right? Then when it breaks it, it becomes a good psychological get my teeth in, psychological level to trade from. All right. But for me, really, they're good targets. That's why I like them. So I hope that helps. Right. Nero has got his entry, stop loss, and everything here. So let's go to US dollar, Japanese yen. Let's just drop down to the H4 so I can find these levels. So he entered at 151.15. Is this today, I assume? Okay, so he entered roughly there, and your stop loss was 151.38. So you were selling. Right, you literally just got taken out by a pip. Okay, so this was the trade, guys, right? And what was your target, Nero? That would be interesting as well. I can't repeat that comment, Poo Poppy. Right, so this was the entry for a sell. This was the stop loss, right? And let's just say you were trying to take price back down to these lows and this 150.50 psychological level, right? Okay, it's a 30-minute entry. Right, let's go down to the M. So let me try and understand this entry. Right, so I'm assuming that you saw the moving average, sorry, the 30-minute price action coming down. You saw a retrace into this level, right? You started seeing top wicks, you started seeing bearish candles, right? And then you entered. Put in your stop potentially just above here. It's a very tight stop with a view to taking price down to here. Now, you know, I don't know what your strategy is, Nero, but what we're going to do is just look at this trade, right? So I'm going to do a top-down approach, right? And see how I would have traded this, okay? See if there's some overlap with what you were thinking. So daily, okay, I get why you want to sell it, right? Because we just broke this low. Okay, and we've got this gap that is looking like it wants to get filled, right? So we had, you know, a break of structure, right? Lower lows. We had a nice big bearish candle, and potentially we had all of this room back down to here and this 150 psychological level, right? From a daily point of view, that's where I would take that trade. Okay. Now, let's drop down to the H4, right? Okay. And H4 was clearly in this downtrend as well. Okay. So, Nero, I cannot fault your logic so far with this trade, right? Everything's looking like a sell trade. On the H4, right, when you entered, right, you entered here, in here somewhere. Just look how bullish this candle is, right? I would consider that, right? There's no sellers come into the market for me as yet. If anything, we have strong buying pressure. So I wouldn't want to be selling that on the H4. Perhaps if we get a nice big bearish candle now, okay, right? We could sell it. Let's drop down to the H1. I mean, yeah, H1 kind of makes sense, right? Right, price came back up to here. We're in a downtrend, lower highs, lower lows. So everything was pulling in the right direction. So let's understand the entry, right? And even you had this candle here, right, which is bearish. That's bearish enough for me. If I was entering on the H1 and H1 was my entry time frame with what we've just seen, I think selling here would be a good sell trade, right? Now, you've actually got in at a better price. But really, if I'm selling the H1, that is the last H1 swing high. So my stop loss has to go above that. And your stop loss was at, what was your stop loss at? Let's get it exactly. 385. So your stop loss was basically there. So your stop loss was under this high, right? And at the very least, you need to put your stop loss at the last swing high or swing low. And that is the last swing high. So, you know, I would have at least put my stop loss, let's say that's 39. This is US dollar yen. It moves pretty quickly. I would at least put my stop loss probably up to around 50. Right? Well, you know, I'd just give it some room. And that's really all I would say about your trade and what was wrong with it, really, Nero, is your stop loss was so tight. Now, this trade still may or may not work out, right? It might come up and hit this. But you entered on the M30, right? And again, you still have to consider that this really is the last swing high. And you can't have your stop loss at that level. You have to have it above it. And I would suggest that was the only problem with this trade, right? The stop loss was just too tight. And lots of traders do this because the tighter the stop loss, you think you can get better risk to reward. And even if your trade is one is to one, the trade doesn't have to move so far, right, for you to get some profit. So try and get away from this concept of getting really tight stops in order for you, because you think you can make more money out of the trade or better risk to reward, right? It's not true. Chances are you'll get taken out of that trade more often than not. And how I would play this trade is this, right? Before you take any trade, guys, okay, I know that, let's say on the H1, right? I know that this level here is going to be my target, okay? Because it is the last low, right? So it makes sense to make that your target. The second thing I know before I enter any trade is that I want my stop loss above this level to give it a little bit of room. So this would be my stop loss and this would be my target, right? Now, typically I'm looking for a minimum of a risk to reward of 1:1, right? So with that in mind, I could enter at this level. Okay. So on that, where are we? On that nice bearish candle that I saw on the H1, I could enter on that. I could start selling there. Basically gives me 1:1. There's my stop loss and there's my take profit. I'm not trying to force more risk to reward out of the trade. I'm putting my stop loss in a place where I think if it hits that, I'm wrong, right? If I'm trading the H1, H4 would be a very different stop loss. And that's how I would approach it. I wouldn't be thinking, right, if I get in here and I put my stop loss here, this could be a, 1:4. That would be a great return. No, you wanna put your stop loss where it's safe and your target at the next high on an uptrend or the next low on a downtrend, right? And that's it. Don't overcomplicate it. So yeah, Nero, thank you for sharing your trade. It created some interesting conversation and analysis. So yeah, good. So yeah, hope that helps, Nero. Poo Poppy, I cannot say that. Hi, Mr. Billionaire, how are you? What about Aussie dollar yen? Okay, we'll take a look at that. Hi, Jane, how are you? David, I would have considered the H4 retracement and needed a larger stop. Yeah, so while we're on this subject, I agree, right? Exactly. So when I'm trading the H1, right, if your entry time frame's the H1, you put your stop loss above the last H1 high. If you're trading the H4, you're going to put your stop loss above the last high, right? So my stop loss would go in here. Now, all of a sudden, the trade parameters have changed, right? Because of the time frame you're trading. And again, I would give that a little bit more room, really, right? Because that's the last high. And then the same logic applies. I want a minimum of 1:1. So as soon as price reaches that level, I know I can get 1:1, and that's the minimum I want, right? So you could have entered this trade, right? Even if you didn't wait for a bearish candle, you could have entered this trade, put your stop loss above here and target here, right? Because to me, it looks like a pretty decent trade. It really does. You just haven't given it a chance because of your stop loss. So yeah, there you go, Nero. Hope that helps. Poo Poppy, I'm really stingy with stop losses also. Yeah, I don't think you can be. I would go as far as to say that. Unless you're scalping the 5-minute chart, right, you're going to have incredibly tight stop losses. But if you're trading the H1, H4, give your trade some room. Your stop loss says a lot about your trading style. Yes, I agree. If I said to someone, what's your typical stop loss? And they said, oh, anywhere between 30 and 50 pips, I'll be like, oh, right, he trades the H4. Right? If he said, oh, it's anywhere between 5 to 10 pips, I'm like, he's trading M15 or M5. Right? You can gauge it. Absolutely. Right. Who else have we got in? Right. News just come out. Exactly. Yeah, totally agree with that, Brett. Set your stop loss based on what the chart is showing you. Yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you, Brett. We are going to look at what was it? Who wanted to look at Aussie dollar yen? Aussie dollar yen. Right. We will look at Aussie dollar yen. Let's take a look at US dollar pairs. Right. Okay. So US dollar is going up. Okay. So US dollar strength. New Zealand dollar is okay. So I can't help but think that is the Canadian dollar news. Right. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Some US dollar weakness here. Okay, bit of a mixed bag. So I'm going to say, let's have a look at Euro US dollar. So a bit of US dollar weakness, right? But there was also some Canadian dollar news. So I'm going to say the Canadian dollar news was better than expected, and the US dollar news was worse than expected. Let's have a look. I am like Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, Canadian dollar news was very good. US dollar news was very bad. That is a big miss. That is 8.6 positive. That's minus 12.8. And the month before it is 23. So if this is a gauge of manufacturing, which it is, right? Manufacturing's falling off a cliff. Less shit is getting made. Right? So bad for the economy. Yeah, and we're seeing a weak US dollar. Let's see if that impacted the indices. Not greatly. Okay. The indices just keep batting off everything, don't they? The indices, there's war everywhere. Trump and China are, both committing financial suicide. And, everything seems to be going to shit. Yet the indices are just like, yeah, whatever. Honestly, they just keep, you have a big sell-off. They're like, yep, okay, we'll ignore that. Let's get back up to these highs. Honestly, the indices are so robust, right? They're not taking any of this news seriously. They have a sell-off, the initial, news impact come out of left field, right? Trump and his further tariffs. But I bet it comes back up and tests the highs. Right, guys, if I could please ask everyone to subscribe to the channel, smash the notification button, and please smash the like button if you haven't already. Really helps support the channel. Also, guys, you can become a Simply Forex member if you want to show your support as well. Also, guys, above my head, if we look at the website, first of all, www.simply-forex.com. forex.com. If you go there, guys, you will see all of our premium trading education. We've got the course that I created. We've got the mentorship program where I coach you one-on-one. We have got the VIP Trading Academy. And we've got our new Price Action Pro indicator, which is kicking butt. So go check all of that out. Also, guys, please come join our free Discord channel, right? It's free. I showed you earlier on, we got traders on there sharing trades. You can have a chit chat. So why not come join us on the Discord? And finally, guys, today's live stream is brought to you by Pepperstone. If you switch brokers and sign up with them using our link, we will give you free access to our VIP Trading Academy, and we'll give you a free Essential Trading View subscription. What is not to like? All the links for all of these things are in the video description. Go check it out. Right, what else are we looking at? Okay, I need to post more about my trade. You broke that down beautifully. I was a bit greedy with my stop loss because I thought price will just melt because of the bigger and because of bigger risk to reward. Yeah. So guys, I encourage all of you, right? In fact, the people who join me on Tuesday's live stream, bring with you an entry, a stop loss, and a target of a trade that you are in or was in. Right, and we can break it down and have a look at it. I think it'd be really interesting and a good way to learn. Right, Nero is also looking at Euro US dollar sells. Okay, I concur. I think this is at a really nice level at the moment. Who put all these bloody blue lines on my chart? Whose fault was that? Frederick, that was your fault. Only joking. Let's get rid of those. Right, so we can see the chart. Now, you can see there was a level through there. Right, again, that's not me just putting a level in. You can see it. It was support. It was support. If I dragged it left, it was support again. In fact, let's drag it left so you can see that. That is a level. Fact. Right? We are in a downtrend. Fact, right? This is how we trade, guys. We deal in facts, not what you think, not any preconceived ideas about euro or about US dollar. We just trade what we see on the chart. So downtrend, fact. At a resistance level, fact. At our smart river, which is, historically a great place to enter for sales, fact, right? Our indicator tells you it's bearish anyway, right? So really like sells. Today was probably not the day because of this big bullish candle, right? But if we start to see a candle like this, I would become interested in selling Euro US dollar back down to here, right? As I said before, I'd probably aim for this 116 psychological level, leave some profit to run. Now, the missing piece of this jigsaw is the H4, right? Because it's in an uptrend. Okay. You can see we are clearly in this uptrend. And even if, let's imagine you really wanted to sell this. Even if you've got a nice big bearish candle off of that level, would you want to start selling there, right? You've got this was resistance, and if I go right, becomes support, right? You don't want to sell into that. And we're in a H4 uptrend. Again, you can see our indicator is green. It tells you. You don't even have to use your brain with our indicator. You can just sort of visually follow it. It's such a good tool. So yeah, I wouldn't be interested in that. Okay, so what we are interested in is something like this. And then we get a breakdown, right? Stops making higher highs. We get this low, price breaks that low, perhaps we get a retrace and we start selling, right? Back down to these lows, if not further. So I really like Euro US dollar sells, but I could be waiting a very long time to get that trade, right? I've got to wait for a H4 breakdown. It probably won't happen this week. But, welcome to trading. Welcome to sitting on your hands until they're purple. That is one of the biggest skills in trading, right? Really, it really is. Sit on your hands until they're purple and do nothing. That's also why I like trading. Not that I do nothing in between trades, but you've got freedom. I do nothing as well sometimes, to be honest. Sweet FA I do now and again, which is quite nice. So yeah, really like Euro US dollar sells, just need to wait for that to happen. Pooh Poppy says here, I'm going to sell my stocks and use it to buy another house. I don't trust this market. Pooh Poppy, I would say that's very good financial advice. Right, I do trade stocks, okay? But I'm just, my strategy is very simple. When there's a massive sell-off in the market, let's talk about this briefly, right? So let's go now. Let's go FTSE, because I buy FTSE 100 shares, right? So basically, when there's a big sell-off, I mean, this was tariffs, right? This was tariffs. When price comes down here because of tariffs, stocks are cheap, generally speaking. Buy stocks, right? COVID, right? Back here, I could not buy enough stocks. Like literally every penny I had in my bank account, I was like just buying, like GlaxoSmithKline, HSBC, BAE Systems, this WP something. I was just buying everything and stocks that pay a good dividend, right? And Warren Buffett always says, when everyone is fearful, you need to be aggressive. I'm pretty sure that's not his saying, but something along those lines, right? Yeah, when others are fearful, you need to be greedy. I think it's something like that. And that's what happens, right? When the markets are selling off, you're not going to pick the bottom, right? You're not going to start buying stocks here. But I think I got in, when the market was here somewhere, right? And then just look at that bounce, right? And then just look at it, it just keeps going, right? And all I do is skim some profit off of stocks, right? Now, I too have sold most of my stocks, right? And if I haven't, I've at least skimmed the profit off. And it becomes a time where you want to, people say, oh, sit on cash, right? And that's what I will be doing until the next opportunity presents itself. Now, Pooh Poppy is talking about a house, right? Yeah, if you want to buy a house, right? But again, when I talk about the next opportunity, I almost want a housing crash. Touch wood, everyone's got houses. I don't wish that on everyone. But as soon as there's a housing crash, buy as many houses as you can, or buy a house or what you were saving for, right? Or get a mortgage and buy a house, right? It's cheap. It's the same with stocks. When they're crashing, buy them, right? Don't go having a punt on some new tech company out of Taiwan that makes little plastic things, right? Don't do that. Get fully established FTSE 100, S&P 500, NASDAQ 100 companies that pay a good dividend and sit on them, right? Skim profit off. And just, that is my stock strategy. It's pretty bloody simple. So there you go, guys. Right, guys, please There you go. Thank you, Adrian. Adrian, by the way, it is Liverpool versus Man United on Sunday. Me and Adrian will be sworn enemies on Sunday, and then on Monday, one of us will be crying, and we'll be hugging each other. Okay, but on Sunday, enemies. And like you said, be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. Yeah, Warren Buffett couldn't agree more, right? And he's got a few quid in the bank. He's doing all right. All right, guys, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, smash the notification button, and smash that like button. Please go check out the website. Please come join our trading community, and please go check out that Pepperstone promotion. All the links are in the video description, and please go check out my weekly forecast over the weekend, and I'll see you for more live streams next week. All right, see you later, guys.